What's up, friends? Ironbeard here with an interesting Arma Reforger update. Interesting in that it's an entire update that contains no features from the roadmap, as it's just bug fixes and tweaks. Over 90, in fact. I hereby dub this the Known Issues patch. That probably should have been part of the 1.0 update, but don't you worry, it'll likely introduce another 50 bugs that we don't yet know about. Which, for me, sort of begs the question, why? Why are we only getting a huge bug fix patch since 1.0 after all this time? Surely it's not the only thing they've been working on, as we usually see a major feature released by now. Maybe I'm just hopeful, but I do wonder if a patch like this didn't come out sooner because Bohemia Interactive are laying the foundations for something bigger. What that can be, we can only speculate. Now, I don't want to bore you with the details of reading the patch notes line by line, but I do want to talk about some changes that are worth mentioning, both from the patch notes and some sneaky changes that aren't mentioned anywhere, the ones that I've noticed anyway. First up is the garbage collection system. In case you didn't know, the garbage collector has been somewhat broken for a few patches now, leading to servers using mods to fill the gap. But now, it's said to be fixed in some way. However, it remains to be seen if vehicles and deployed radios will disappear in front of our eyes, though I believe as long as vehicles are running, they won't despawn. Interesting to note, the garbage collection system appears to have been reverted to the garbage manager until the next major update. What does that mean? Well, probably only Bacon knows. One major update is that there's been an increase in deployment time for bases that are under attack of up to an additional 60 seconds once the base becomes contested. In my opinion, this is by far the biggest and bestest hero of this patch when it comes to the flow of assaulting bases in conflict, because it means that defenders can no longer keep spawning in infinite waves with knowledge of the positions of their attackers, which I believe is also a big reason why a single match can last upwards of 4 to 6 hours on Everon. It's now very important for defenders to stay alive and maintain their effectiveness, especially since there's an additional change to supplies that'll have an even bigger impact for defending bases, which I'll talk about in a bit. Also relating to conflict is that the seizing timer now updates in real time when services are added or dismantled. If you didn't know, building services at each base will add an additional 30 to 45 seconds per service to the capture time, making it really worthwhile to build up your bases. But if combat engineer crews came into your base and tore down structures, the result wouldn't take effect immediately. Now it does. So keep watch for demolition crews around your base. Another little tweak that changes conflict in a massive way is that custom loadouts now cost supplies when spawning at bases. This is absolutely huge for defenders and logi runners, because if your bases don't have a living quarters or barracks and lots of people spawn in to defend the base, it's going to drain supplies very quickly. Once supplies are low, you'll have no choice but to spawn in with the default loadout, so I guess you better practice your aiming with the M16 and AK-74. You can see how much your loadout is going to cost the base by checking out this corner of the screen in the deployment menu. Now, some of the sneaky updates are pretty interesting as well. For example, supplies at your main operating base regenerate to your base's maximum storage, which hasn't changed. But all other bases, on the other hand, only regenerate up to 1,500 supplies, which, to me, when combined with the other changes to loadouts costing supplies, feels like a good balance. Vehicle fires and explosions now deal damage to you if you get too close. The range seems to be a few meters, so it's just another danger to watch out for on the battlefield. Ammo from the arsenal and resupply boxes now cost supplies as well, so no more free mags and boxes of ammo for snipers and machine gunners. You'll need to be near supplies in order to rearm from the resupply box. However, it's important to note that your default loadout won't cost supplies, which includes items like your boots, flashlight, map, radio, etc. Though interestingly enough, binoculars will set you back some supplies. One particular bug that's been bothering me is when trying to switch radio channels. Whenever I moved my mouse, my character would also move their head while the menu was up. But now that's been fixed and the UI is properly separated from your character's movement. While not a very big addition, it would appear that the glass on the helicopters can now be broken, whereas before there was just a bullet decal in places where shots were landing. Although this type of destruction is likely just standard for vehicles, I do wonder if it indicates anything new with the destructible environments that are still to come. Currently, there doesn't appear to be a destruction model assigned to it yet. Speaking of things yet to come, you might have noticed that the back door of the Mi-8 helicopter has a compartment that can be destroyed. Could this be in preparation for machine guns and rocket pods for the helicopters? Overall, this is a pretty good update despite not containing any features from the roadmap. However, that doesn't mean there aren't still some issues that need addressing. For example, I always forget which number my grenades and smokes and medical items are assigned to, so I like to hold tab and scroll through the quick slot items. The problem is that it doesn't separate the UI elements here, and I end up adjusting my movement speed as well, which is definitely not ideal. Another issue I ran into sometimes is that the pencil tool conflicts with custom markers, which throws things off when I'm trying to focus on marking distances or routes. This doesn't seem to be an issue with faction markers. Speaking of markers, I've noticed that you're unable to move the faction markers after you place them, which is a problem for me because I often need to update their location as I determine a more accurate position. The strange thing is that custom markers are able to be moved around just fine. The graphics bug for the rain seems to be back, causing thick droplets that look really weird when moving around, making it really difficult to see in the rain for those who get the bug. And finally, ever since they added stabilization for prone, it's been a very useful stance for laying down fire without much recoil, but the prone position seems to inherit the same angle as the surface you're lying on, which is really irritating. Anywho, I'm sure there's more issues that'll pop up, which is a good time to mention that if you're experiencing any issues or want to give your feedback, it's very helpful for Bohemia to fill out a ticket on their feedback tracker. Link is in the description. And if you've made it this far, not only do I want to thank you for your attention, but I also want to invite you to my Discord channel, the Band of Beardos. Link is also in the description. This is Ironbeard, and I'll see you on the battlefield.